Hey again everyone, and welcome back to the channel for our weekly news recap, where we take a look at what's going on in the 6-scale world, and I kind of go over either announcements that I'm interested in or news stories that I think are pretty interesting or that have something I want to discuss. And I will start by apologizing that this is a day late. I actually had it recorded, and I basically had to trash the entire video. And I'm going to blame Hot Toys, Sideshow, and actually 1/6 Kit for it. I recorded this video last night, and it was supposed to go in the morning, and at that point in time, some of the figures we're going to talk about, like the Soldier Story DEVGRU guys, they had not gone up for pre-order, so there was no price point. And then I was going to talk, of course, about the Hot Toys announcement, the trooper that they have from the Star Wars Battlefront game, and I had mentioned that it was going to be dropping, and of course Sideshow dropped that little announcement all of a sudden. Figures going to be up for order at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern. So that was an entire kind of situation that happened. So I decided to redo the video just because it was going to be so outdated by that point. So just a day late for that, but yeah, there's still plenty to talk about, and we're still going to talk about Hot Toys. We're still going to talk about that situation, but there are other things that I wanted to discuss. So. The other thing I wanted to mention, though, is it does feel a little strange, right? There's a lot happening in the 6-scale world, from announcements to some releases, although it's been very quiet post-Chinese New Year. Hot Toys is teasing something, and obviously this trooper that just released is also teasing something beyond just this figure. But it's been very quiet, and we still have to get those two future soldiers in the cybernetic, the exosuit, out, and there are a bunch of releases that are now coming due, like the Avatar figures, for example, are supposed to be releasing, the Iron Man Mark 7 with the gantry, She-Hulk, and so on. So there's definitely a backlog there that hopefully Hot Toys will catch up on. And it's not just Hot Toys, right? We're talking about third-party So-So, Toys Era showing signs of life. So it just feels a little weird, like we're getting announcements, but at the same time, maybe because there aren't as many properties out there, things have been a little slower. Star Wars seems to be firing on all cylinders. We got the trailer for the Acolyte dropping, so that's very interesting. It was good to see Carrie-Anne Moss in that. I had actually not realized she was in that, and she's another fan favorite from the Matrix, so everybody, I feel like there's a big draw there, but it was a teaser, so I don't even know the story. There are potentials there for figures, I'm sure. I'm sure Hot Toys is already looking at it, but I think it's ultimately going to depend on how well the show does, how good it is, how well it performs, and how well received it is by fans. Like, for example, Ahsoka, we've seen how deep Hot Toys is going in that line, and I still don't think they're done, right? I think there's potential for more there. So if the show is a success, I think we're going to be seeing some potential figures from there. But for Marvel too, maybe X-Men 97, now that it's out, seems to be getting a positive response. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see more Hono Studios releases. We got their Magneto last week. They're teasing more. So-So had also teased that poster with a bunch of figures, including Jean Grey and Magneto, their own version of Magneto, which would be the third. So it seems like maybe the right time for them to make some announcements. And then you've got Present Toys just on a roll with announcement after announcement, and they have their Magneto, their Cyclops up. So you have the possibility, they had that poster where they have other figures, including their own Wolverine. So there's stuff out there. It'll be just curious to see it when and if it gets announced. But as far as this week's announcements, we're going to start with a couple of news stories. So first one from Hot Toys. They are teasing that the release of the 1989, it's not really a 2.0 because I don't think they really changed the design of the 89 Batmobile or their version. So it's the reissue of the 89. So they're teasing that it's ready to be released, that they're trying to schedule pickup and all that in their local stores. So that's imminent. I'm curious to see how it looks in person. I didn't order this. If you've been following the channel, you know that I ended up opting for the Jazz Inc. version, which, full disclosure, I'm sure a lot of you at this point have watched the Batmobile review for the 22. Personal decision, but I ended up just really thinking about what I was going to do with that 89 pre-order, and I ended up canceling. it wasn't an easy decision. It's a big NRD to lose, and it's probably the first time that I've done a cancellation like that in years. But I had to kind of weigh the value of the vehicle for me, and not saying that, not trying to change your way or your perception of that release, but I just realized if I was gonna get something like the 22, I'd rather invest that money elsewhere in other figures. And you could see from the announcements every week there's an abundance of things, whether it's a figure or multiple figures or just there's a lot there and it's almost impossible to keep up with everything, right? You can't get everything. So I made the tough decision that I'd rather take the budget I had for that and reinvest it into more figures. So basically I'm passing on the 89 Batmobile at this point. We'll see. I'm always curious of seeing how they turn out. So I'll be curious to see if the Batmobile reissue from Hot Toys is similar to the original, and just good luck to everybody who's getting it, because I think it's coming in soon, so that'll be a nice invoice coming your way. Now the next one is from Inart. Inart finally giving us an update on their Batman figure. I didn't order this one either. I have the Hot Toys one in order, which still hasn't shipped from Sideshow. I paid it off almost at this point 3 weeks ago. I did reach out to them. They said there's some issue with customs and releasing the batch that they currently have, so still waiting on that one. But Inart showing signs of life. What's interesting here about this announcement, and the reason I was bringing it up, is they did mention some updates, right? Some updates to the figure that nobody's really aware of, so little surprises there. So I'm curious to see what those are. But the big thing is for the magnetic base. They're claiming there's something now. They updated the base to be a sliding magnetic base. I'm not sure what that means. So when people start getting this in hand, I'll be curious to see if that mitigates the issue with the figures collapsing. And I'm definitely curious as somebody who's picking up their Harry Potter, and their Paul Atreides, to see them at least improve that, because that is definitely a concern. Although again, frankly, even with my Hot Toys figures or third-party figures, I tend to avoid bases overall. So if the figure can stand well on its own, I don't know that it's necessary. So once I get my first Inart in hand, I think I'll be able to get an appreciation more for what's going on there. But Inart Batman looks like it's finally incoming, so definitely again looking forward to seeing people getting that in hand. Hopefully Inart does something with the batch system, because the way they release things. I think the Gandalf is still releasing. I don't think it's been released completely. I think the Pennywise has been, but they're just slow going, and that's something that I hope they improve. And then the other announcement, and I'm not really going to get into the figure itself, but it's basically the SSSW Toys Ada Wong 2.0. But I wanted to touch on this because it's interesting in the market, especially with the 6 scale market. So they just released, they had the teasers for the 1.0. That figure just got released, and you know, I ended up not getting it because I'm waiting to see if hopefully Damn Toys will do something. The sculpt I think turned out okay. It wasn't the best. I did see some tears with some of the clothing, so it was definitely a handle with care kind of figure. But what's surprising here is that they immediately announced the 2.0. I think the figure's only been out for, at this point, maybe a month, maybe a little bit over. So it almost feels like for people that were early adopters, now there's another one out there. And looking at the differences, I mean, it looks like the biggest difference is the clothing set. The sweater dress is a little bit different, and you get an alternate version of that sweater dress. Looks like she has a different belt and some different accessories, particularly the RPG launcher. So you are getting something, and I think the sculpt is a little bit different. So it's different enough. I don't know that it's different enough to, if you already have the first one, to want to get this one, but it's another option. I'm just more curious because this dives into that conversation about companies reissuing their figures, right? We know Stallone Shop has done it with their Rambo and the Cobra, which that's how I managed to get it, so I'm not complaining about that. We know that Hot Toys has done reissues, right? The 1989 Batmobile, right, for example. That seems like a straight reissue. So companies are doing this, and it's just interesting to see third parties do it, because it really feels like as a collector, it gives you something to think about, because if you miss out on a figure, do you then jump into the secondary market and try to pay sometimes really expensive prices, or do you try to wait it out a little bit, right? It's a balance that we as collectors have to consider. It's, do we miss out on a figure or wait for it to continue to rise in price, or do we wait hoping that some company will do a reissue like this one, like SW Toys? I think Ada Wong, their figure probably proved to be very successful, and people wanted it, which is why they're going back to that well and giving us another version. I think it's probably sold well for them, which is why they're doing it. And look, for me, the Cobra story from the Stallone shop, that one sold out, and on the secondary market it was going for $600. I even saw some listings for $900, and for me that was a no-go, right? I know some collectors might have considered it, but for the figure that retails at just about $300, that's a huge markup. And as a collector, if you really want the character, that might be the only thing. But imagine having picked that up in the secondary market, and then Stallone Shop comes out with a reissue. It becomes a question that just we as collectors have to be cognizant of, that companies are re-releasing. Not every company, right? Blitzway, for example, Dan Toys, the Ghostbusters continue to be one of those Grail figures. The Universal Soldier figures as well, Grails that haven't been reissued at this point. So it is something you have to just be aware of. Sometimes that's not going to happen, and you're going to have to bite the bullet if you do, or you wait and you take a chance. So it's just interesting because it shows that even for third parties, and I think we've also seen it with So-So doing 2.0 versions of their figures, like and you can kind of see them in the background, the Matt Murdock from Daredevil. They did a 2.0 version of that. So it's just something to be aware of as collectors, that reissues are happening. Hot Toys isn't the only one doing it. Other companies are doing it, third parties doing it. So it's something we just have to be mindful for as we collect and we watch our budgets. So that's why I wanted to cover this, because it's interesting to me that so quickly after the first one, we're already getting a second version of Ada Wong from SW Toys. But now let's jump into announcements, and there are a couple. So hopefully this video won't go too long. But we're going to start with, again, we're going to use an order of favorites that I'm more likely to get to ones that I'm not. And obviously bringing up the rear is going to be Hot Toys for many reasons, and we'll get into that at the end of the video. But starting with the first one, from Soldier Story, we're getting not just one, but two figures. Two DEVGRU SEALs, Tier 1, SEAL Team 6 guys. And before we even get into the figures themselves, let's talk Soldier Story. Soldier Story was one of the original companies, right? Obviously you have DID. You had Hot Toys doing military at that point. You had, I think it was BBI. You had all these companies that were doing military. And I remember Soldier Story coming into the market and really kind of cementing their place in 6-scale military collecting. They were releasing figure after figure after figure, really good releases too. And I still have a bunch in boxes. One of my favorite figures that they did was the 160th SOAR gunner with the full helicopter helmet that had a face mask with a skull and a working visor. It was a beautiful figure, really great in hand. I have him somewhere else in storage right now until I can get my Maja cases, but it's a gorgeous piece. And then I have a bunch of others that are still in boxes. Soldier Story was really one of these great companies that right now I would put them in hand with the likes of Dan Toys in terms of the quality of the figures, just how good they were. Now something happened. I don't know what that was, but at some point they kind of fell off the face of the earth, and that was it. They were big even in the secondary market. They were in those, not secondary market, but they had shows where they had booths where they showcased their work. So they were a big company, and something happened, and they again pulled back, and slowly we've seen them start jumping in, right? They did the recent exoskeleton suits with that Tom Cruise looking figure from Edge of Tomorrow. It wasn't an exact replica, but it was kind of inspired by that. I think they recently did a Chinese diver that had a great stand to actually recreate, a swimming scene or posing. So I thought that was pretty cool. So it's great to see them kind of jump back into the market that they've they had established, right? We still have great companies. Obviously, Damn Toys is still doing this. You have DID still doing this. VTS Toys does some on occasion. But as far as exclusive military, Soldier Story was always one of those great ones. You have Easy and Simple, although I would, based on cost, put them a little bit less. But these two figures are up on sale right now, and they are a little over $200, so it's a great price, and hopefully the quality is still there. But going back to the figures, right, we're getting the team leader and the sniper. So we'll start with the team leader, and they're very similar, so the sniper we won't spend too much time on, but team leader looks great, right? Very unique portrait sculpt, right? He's got, we'll talk about the beard actually later, or in a little bit, but it's an interesting design. He's got tattoos on both arms, which I like. It reminds me a lot of the Damn Toys Gangsters Kingdom line, which is, it just visually gives you something a little different, right? And you've seen a lot of my military figures recently, so there's definitely a big appeal there to those figures, but sometimes you want to see something that sets them apart a little, and this guy definitely has things that set him apart, right? He's got the red armbands as well. He's got the tattoos, the beard. I like the look with the baseball cap and the sunglasses. Not every, I've got almost every figure right now with MVGs or quad MVGs, so you know, having a little difference in the display is great. So I do like what you're getting here. The other interesting thing that they're doing, this one does come with the quad MVGs. First thing that I like, because it's unique from what we've seen before, is there's no helmet, right? So it's not MVGs attached to a helmet, the quads. It's attached to some straps, and you've even got like cameras next to it. So very different kind of look. I don't know that I'm crazy about it. I think I like the hat look with the sunglasses, but it's interesting, right? And the other great thing about these MVGs, although I don't know that it's a useful feature, they are light up. So you put in button cells, and the interior of the goggles lights up a nice green to kind of cast that on the image, on the figure. It looks, I'm sure it's going to be great, right? It's going to be visually stunning, but it begs the question, like with all these light up features, especially with button cells, are you going to reach into your display and toggle buttons on and off to showcase the figure? Probably not. So it's going to be something that you're going to use more as for pictures or for videos, and then it's going to be a forget it kind of feature. It's great that they're doing it. I just don't know how useful it is. Now, the other thing that I really like here is the grenade launcher. Both figures come with grenade launchers. It again, very intricate, functional. It comes with a bunch of grenades that you can actually have the figure posing, like sliding them into the barrel, the rotating barrel. So that's cool. These military companies, if you haven't collected them and you've only collected Hot Toys, even Inart, right? I'm gonna go out on a limb because I saw a lot of people with the Joker impressed at the weaponry. If you've collected military figures, Damn Toys, Soldier Story, easy and simple. You won't be as easy. It's not. You won't think that their weapons are. These companies are as innovative as maybe that you think, because these companies, military companies, do an awesome job with the detailing work on the accessories and the weaponry. So I think you're seeing that here with Soldier Story. Now, what's interesting about this team leader is you do get a special edition, and that one I don't know how you're getting it. I don't think he's been put up for pre-order. I could be wrong, but he comes with rooted beard hair. It's funny just because I've never been much of a fan of rooted hair, right? Even with the Inart thing, and even though I picked up the Artisan Scarlet Witch because I'm curious to see what it looks like, and I thought it looked great, right? It's not something that I'm going to be going out of my way to get. So for a figure like this, look, it's a special edition, so would I be tempted to get it? I mean, if they're not charging me $100 more, which is kind of seems to be the difference between a rooted and non-rooted, then maybe. If it's the same price, maybe. But if you're going to charge me more for a rooted beard, no. I'll stick with the sculpted. It looks okay. I just think it's interesting that seems to be the big thing now. Companies doing rooting in some way or another. And this is just another take on it, and it's interesting, and I'm curious to see how this develops as things go. But as far as the figure, again, weaponry great, details great, it looks like a figure that's going to stand out. Again, very unique look, which is kind of what I look for when I'm trying to decide if I'm going to pick up a military release or not. Now, with it, you get the companion piece, which is the DEVGRU sniper. Very similar piece. Again, it has the quad light up MVGs, same kind of connection with just straps as opposed to the helmet. As far as a look, much more clean in terms of the classic look, just standard BDUs like desert, an interesting green grayish kind of color. The rifle is really the standout here with the longer barrel, the longer design. He is a sniper, but overall great features, right? The boots are very unique, extremely well detailed. So it's a great set to get, and at 200 a piece, a little bit over, not terribly expensive, and definitely in line with what that market goes for. These look impressive. They're definitely tempting. I think the only thing that would hold me back is there are other releases that I'm still kind of lagging behind that I have to order. So I'll keep these in mind. I definitely want them. They look awesome. I think they go great with the collection. I just have to try to find a slot for them at this point. But the story here for me is Soldier Story. It's great to see them coming back, and I hope they've been a little more active, and hopefully this shows a resurgence of the company, because they were a great company to begin with. Now, next one, and this one is a definite that I'm getting, is the Present Toys civilian Bruce Wayne motorcycle outfit. So they had this kind of, they showcased this, and at first I thought it was a figure. It is a body with a clothing set that uses the Hot Toys sculpt. So immediately I like the appeal here, because look, when I get my Batman, I'm probably going to keep him displayed with the cowl. For the pictures and the video and the review, I'll showcase that alternate sculpt, but I'm going to want my Batman with the cowl. So that Bruce Wayne sculpt, that Robert Pattinson sculpt, is going to stay in the box, or at least it would have. Now it's cool because I have an option to create a second figure with that sculpt, and this isn't too expensive. It's a little over $100, and it looks good, right? The clothing set looks good. The hands also come pre-bandaged, so it's a very distinctive appearance overall. I like the backpack. I like the jacket with the sweater and the shirt underneath, and the throat protector, and it just looks good. Now, it's not the only one we're getting, right? Topo Toys has announced that they're doing a clothing set as well. I have no experience with that company. I actually like Present Toys. I think they're a decent third-party company. Not the best, right? I put them closer to the bottom of what I'm kind of finding acceptable for my collection, but still solid. So I think with this one, using the Hot Toys sculpt, it's going to be a really good figure and a good option to create that second look for Batman and Bruce Wayne. So very exciting for that one. Now, next, from X06, Ensign Laren. This one continues the TNG line, and it's interesting because I had kind of a somewhat negative reception to the Dr. Bashir from DS9 that they put up. I just didn't think the likeness was there. I thought, I know that the prototypes are usually not as good as the final product, the way X06 does it, but there was just something there that I couldn't get myself to order that one yet, as much as I like the character. Now, Laren, she's interesting because she's not a primary character at all. She shows up in like 6 or 7 episodes, but she has a really good storyline in terms of this kinship with Picard and this ultimate betrayal of him. And then she makes a great reappearance in Picard Season 3. I liked seeing her as Commander Ro. Now, I'll tell you right now, if X06 were to put Ensign Laren up and Commander Laren, I'd probably pick up Commander Laren. One episode, she killed it, right? And that she's played by the great Michelle Forbes, who again also played Admiral Helena Kane in the Battlestar Galactica remake. Great actress, great role, great performance, and I love seeing her as Commander Laren in Picard Season 3. I know some people weren't satisfied with kind of the end of the character, but I thought it finally brought some closure to that storyline between her and Picard. So I'm looking forward to that. And the CEO of X06 did tease that if this figure does well, he would make a Commander role Laren, and it seems like she's doing well, so I'm looking forward to that. Now this one I might order. I'm like 75% there. I think the likeness is okay. I don't think it's, again, one of their strongest sculpts, but I do think it looks a little bit better than say their Major Kira. So, and also I think for me, she's more of an important character just because of that storyline with Picard and kind of that impact that she had. So I'm definitely tempted to get her to go along with that TNG crew. And just, if they do make Commander Laren, again, it'll be nice to see that evolution of certain characters from where they started to where they ended up in. So another release, look, X06, Star Trek, very niche license. You're not going to pick this up just because. And definitely not a character like this that's just in a uniform with a few accessories. You really have to have a connection to the character to get this. So totally get it if people aren't as excited about this one, but I am excited. I think she's a great character, and that's the appeal here. Now the next announcement comes from Pop Toys, and it's John Wick, or their version of John Wick from the second movie. So Pop Toys did that excellent Stallone character, the Dwight Manfredi from Tulsa King. I was really impressed, right? Pop Toys, I saw their Mortal Kombat figure, their Scorpion, that everybody seemed to love, and that's how I felt about the Dwight Manfredi. I thought it was a great release. Very happy with it. Very happy with the quality of the clothing, the tailoring, and all of that. And even the sculpt I thought was decent, was really good. So Pop Toys is definitely on my radar. Now, it's interesting that they chose to do this version of John Wick. And look, as you look at the pictures, super simple release. I mean, he's got a turtleneck, he's got a jacket, slacks, shoes, that's it, right? I think the only accessory you're getting is the gun. And the gun looks good. It's really well detailed. But that's pretty much it. Oh, and they show you that he's got his wedding band and it's real metal. Okay, that's cool. But very, very simple release. Now, if I didn't have any John Wick figure, and if there weren't any others on the horizon, I might be really tempted to pick this guy up. But as it stands, Hot Toys is releasing their John Wick from the fourth movie with Kane, and I already ordered that one. I do think that one has the better head sculpt, and from an accessory point of view, has a ton of accessories to really make that figure look good. And you can still get it's a little expensive, but you can still find the John Wick 2 version from Hot Toys on the secondary market. I definitely think it's got a weaker sculpt, but from an accessory package, that one is another awesome release that I still look for it and see if I could get a good deal. And if I do, that one at some point I'm looking to bring home as well. But interesting, it's a solid release. Look, if you don't have one and you're looking to spend less money than what the Hot Toys one is charging for, maybe not a bad option. Very simple. If all you want is a figure, it's John Wick standing with a gun, it could be an option for you. For me, it's going to be a pass. I think the Hot Toys one looks better, and since I already have that one on pre-order, I don't need this version, or at least something this simple. I'd like something with some more accessories. But interesting to see them tackle it, and I'd love to continue seeing what they're doing, because they're an interesting company that tackles things that they like, and potentially that I might like. So definitely a company to keep an eye on. The next one too is one that I've got to do a little more research on, but I wanted to flag because it looks cool, and it's from Fire Toys, the God of the Sky Horse. And usually we've seen a lot of these, right, from other companies. We've seen Roman gladiators, we've seen some interesting Greek warriors, we've even seen Medusa come out. And I usually don't cover them because while I think they look cool, it's not something I'm even remotely interested in picking up. But the reason I'm bringing this figure up is it gives me hope to a degree, and at the same time I'm almost wondering if it's worth picking up to customize. So if you look at the pictures, right, obviously it's a human with a headdress on, but the headdress has kind of a neck connector with a small head of horse. So if any of you are familiar with Stargate, and I'm not talking about SG-1 with the TV show that went on for like 12 seasons and then had all those spin-offs, right? We're talking about the movie with Kurt Russell, which I love that movie. That movie is great. If you haven't seen it, check it out. but this is a design of the main villain's kind of soldiers, with a very nice, cool looking helmet. That definitely stands out. So for me, obviously, then the question becomes: do I try to make a customized Kurt Russell, or do I hope somebody's going to make it? Present Toys, maybe. But it just looks cool. I don't know if I'll get it. It doesn't look like an exact replica of what we saw on the movie, but it could be an option, right? And even the staff that it has looks very similar to the weapon that they had in the movie. So it's interesting because it's almost like this company's play. So clearly they want to do something that's Egyptian in nature, and then the question is just going to be, for me, is it enough of a proximity to Stargate to pick that up? I don't know that it is, but it's interesting, right? And it shows, maybe gives me some hope for that license, that somebody will look at this and think maybe we could do some figures from that movie, which is great, right? And I'd love to add that to the collection. So now we're going to get into Hot Toys, right? And it's their Umbra Operative ARC Trooper. So at this point, we're going to discuss more. Look, the figure looks awesome, right? And they picked a great color palette. I know nothing of the game. I haven't played games in a while, at least of this level. But visually, when they released the pre-order announcement, or the announcement, it looked pretty cool. It's a great combination, the yellow and the black. Definitely a combo that pops. I like the display options. Comes with 3 separate helmets, an entire array of weaponry, so you can really get some great poses out of it. It comes with the ammo pouch that it looks like it magnetically affixes to the chest. So really, really, really solid options to display. Seems like a really posable figure. But it was an exclusive. So all of a sudden, right, they released the announcement, I think, early in the week, and then we got blogger picks. So clearly there was a quick turnaround where it was ready to go. It almost reminded me of convention exclusives when they would be ready to release almost immediately. And this is why the video got delayed a little bit, because basically during the course of the day, as I was working, at the announcement that said Hot Toys is putting this, or Sideshow is putting this up for pre-order at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So I got on the queue, of course, and look, I was like number 3,200 at the start. So I figured I had no chance. And this thing went quick. It looked like even people that had a lower number, like in the 800s, didn't get it. So it looks like it was a super limited release, and it's already ready to ship from Hot Toys. So look, best of luck. Hopefully, if you really wanted this, you got it, because I feel like this is going to be something that's going to skyrocket in that secondary market. I'm okay with having missed out on it. Not a big Star Wars fan from a trooper perspective. I've always veered away, but I always like certain unique pieces, and this one looked unique enough that it would have been something I would have been tempted to get. But look, I tried, and just people that got it there early, people that got lucky, managed to get it. I'm not crazy about the queue system that Sideshow has. I think it's probably maybe as fair as they could get it, other than doing the free-for-all, first-come, first-serve that they used to do, which was also kind of anxiety-producing when you were trying to click, and trying to get onto the site to order your figure. Right, that hasn't happened for a while, so maybe this is a better option. But super limited release. It's a great-looking figure, but doesn't look like there were many made, or at least allocated to the U.S. market. So sold out. Looks like it's ready to ship. I missed out on it. Hopefully, if you were really looking forward to getting it, you got it, and I'm looking forward to seeing the videos on it, because yeah, this was a quick turnaround figure that was announced, released, and super limited. So, and they are teasing, and this is the one key thing, they are teasing more to come. So I'm wondering if it's more exclusives or just more from the video game. But they're saying right in the end of March and in April. So imminent drops from Hot Toys on that. So it'll be curious to see what they really meant by that. But that was it, right? So pretty actually packed week when you look at it, right? It kind of, things trickled in and out, and kind of, it wasn't just all Hot Toys or Inart. A lot of companies kind of decided to drop little things here and there. So it was an interesting week, and we'll just see how everything turns out. Now, as far as upcoming for the channel next week, you'll see a couple of new reviews dropping, right? I've got Gore, the God Butcher, in hand. Great figure. Thor, Love and Thunder, the Hot Toys is killing it with that line. Hot Toys is just killing it in general. And I finally got the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So I pushed that review to the forefront. So those are coming in, and then probably in the weeks to follow, you'll see the Cable and the Cobra review. But yeah, that's it. So really packed week, really a lot of interesting announcements. So yeah, a lot to discuss, and hopefully, if there's something that I didn't touch base on that you think I might like, just let me know in the comments. I'm always curious to know your thoughts on these stories, these releases, these announcements, or anything that I haven't covered. So again, just thanks for watching with me, and as always, just if you are enjoying the content, please consider dropping a like, comment, or subscribing, and we'll touch base in the next video.